Today, I want to talk a little bit about finances and specifically the importance of an emergency fund. Hi, I'm Matt Leidy and welcome to the Gentleman's Mentor. Today, let's talk a little bit about finances, specifically the importance of emergency funds. Recently, a survey was put out that indicated that the average American household would struggle to come up with $400 cash in an emergency. This is not really a shocking statistic when you think about the fact that many Americans are simply living paycheck to paycheck. Most Americans have fallen into the trap of credit card debt and being overextended on things like their mortgage or car payments or any other number of things, especially student loans. The student loan crisis is a hot topic right now, both in the current political climate and throughout the finance community. Because right now people are just struggling, they're just collapsing under the weight of all this debt. So that brings me to the point of an emergency fund. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of emergency funds, and what I'm talking about here is kind of akin to Dave Ramsey's Baby Step 1. And if you're not familiar with Dave Ramsey, I highly encourage you to take a look at a couple of his programs. He's got a fantastic book called Total Money Makeover, and he also does Financial Peace University. Both of those programs were instrumental in kind of changing my mindset in dealing with money, and dealing with credit card and debt and all of that kind of stuff. You know, one of his favorite sayings is cash is king. And that is certainly true when it comes to an emergency fund. The purpose of an emergency fund is basically to give you cash on hand to cover some type of a crisis, whether that be an unexpected car repair or medical injury or something that happens in your house. You know, you have a water leak or something like that, and you've got to get it fixed right away. And so typically most Americans would just reach for their credit card, and swipe that piece of plastic and not really focus on what we spent and, really not have a plan to pay that off. And so when an unexpected event comes up, many Americans find themselves trapped because they just don't have that cash. So they swipe the card and they push themselves further and further in debt. And so when you have an expense that comes along that would have cost you $400, by the time you get around to paying that off with your credit card, you may have let that go for a couple months, and now you've almost doubled the cost of that expense just in the interest fees alone. So that's kind of the idea of the emergency fund. The emergency fund is sit there in your bank account or in a drawer in your desk so that in the event that something comes up, you can just pay cash and move on and not have to worry about it. And there's a certain amount of peace of mind that comes to the fact of having some cash on hand. And a lot of people I know will say, well, $1,000, I can't save $1,000. I've never been able to save more than $100 in my life. And there's some discipline involved to get to that point. And one of the things I want to mention here, and we'll talk about in a future episode, is a piece of budgeting software called You Need a Budget. Its proponents will call it YNAB, Y-N-A-B. And it's a fantastic program. The idea behind You Need a Budget at its core principle is, and you assign that money to a particular budget, all of it. So some of it might go to a dining out category, and others will go to a gasoline category for your car, another will go to groceries, one will go to rent. And basically you're taking all of your paycheck and you're pre-assigning what that money is going to do. And as part of that process, you start setting up an emergency fund and start paying yourself money into savings first, specifically that $1,000 emergency fund. There's all kinds of ways to come up with that $1,000 emergency fund. I am sure you've probably got a house or an apartment full of stuff, and a lot of that stuff you don't need. Some of it's got some value, most of it probably not, but anything you're not using or haven't touched for a year, consider it to sell it. That's money in your pocket that goes into your emergency fund to fund that emergency reserve. You can pick up second jobs. There's always somebody in my neighborhood looking for somebody to cut their grass, rake leaves, pull weeds, whatever. The idea is you do whatever it takes to get to that $1,000 level as quickly as you can, because that's a way to stop the hemorrhaging with the credit card debt and just living that paycheck to paycheck cycle. And that's where something like You Need a Budget really can come in handy, because it helps you understand as soon as you get paid, you're pre-allocating that money, and then you're going to understand, where's my money going? Because every time you go to the store or wherever and you make a purchase, you record that transaction into the app via your phone, and pretty soon you start having a record of where your money's going. So I highly recommend you take a look at the app. There's other options. I know Dave Ramsey's got his own budgeting software. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of You Need a Budget, and I'll put a link to it in the comments below so you can see how it works. If you try to, or actually go through and do it, you can get a 30-day free trial or a 40-day free trial. I can't remember what. But if you use that link, you'll get a free month of YNAB added to your yearly subscription. And full disclosure, I get a free month added to my subscription as well. But I think if you can kind of get yourself using it, it's kind of a game changer and will help you get to that point of saving that $1,000 as quickly as you can. So again, this part one of my kind of financial discussion is working how to build up an emergency fund. Let's go out there, let's find some ways to sell some stuff, let's find some ways to earn some quick cash and get yourself up to $1,000 emergency fund. And coming in there in a future episode, we're going to talk about how to pay down debt and then eventually how to get in to start saving some money. So again, thanks for taking time to watch this video. If you got useful information out of it, feel free to share this video, and I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button and click the little bell to get notified when future episodes of the Gentleman's Mentor come out. So thanks and good luck saving.